Hey guys, Justin here, and I'm with Ken,
Hey.
and we're going to just have a little talk about what we love, horses. And we're here at American Mustang School, and I wanted to share this quote with you. The wise follow nature's rhythm, not man's chaos. Society distracts and nature guides. And what I do is life coaching through horsemanship. And we're going to talk about wild horses and domestic horses, kind of give you a differential on what those are. So you having a good day, Ken?
Oh man, absolutely. Heaven on earth here.
Get to play with horses. So this is Peso. He's a domestic horse. He's an Appaloosa, actually. Not real sure where he came from, but he was one of those Appaloosa farms, breeders. And then this is a once wild Mustang horse, and this is Peso, domestic. This is Whiskey, wild horse. And what we'll do is use this comb here. This will start taking out some of the shed hair because it's spring. So if you want to start up here on his neck and just kind of move and brush him down a little bit.
So what's the main differences between a domestic and a Mustang?
Okay, so it's pretty cool that you asked that, since that's the topic of the show.
Oh.
That's good. A wild horse, he's born in the wild. And what I define as wild is uninterrupted by man, like a wildflower. So Whiskey here, he's born in the wild, and his mother will teach him how to think to survive.
Yeah. Where you going, buddy?
And analyze everything in life and death. So we'll ask him to back up. Go ahead and back your feet. A wild horse has to think to survive, analyze everything, life and death. The domestic horse atrophies in those survival skills.
Yeah.
That's the main difference. The strongest law in nature is self-preservation. So a domestic horse, they pretty much teach their offspring, all you got to worry about is what's in the green bucket. Wild horse, he has to worry about everything at all times.
Yeah.
Domestic horse just doesn't have to. So those survival skills will start to atrophy in a domestic horse, and they'll stay real strong in a wild horse because he's got to use them. So it's kind of like domestic people and wild people. You take a soldier, he has to be trained.
Yeah.
And he has to go do a job that's going to require him to be alert.
Right.
And operating in a higher vibrational frequency for an extended period of time to maintain survival.
Aware of everything.
Exactly. So a domestic horse or a domestic human doesn't have to do that. They work at a job that nobody's shooting at them, so to speak. So you can kind of correlate a domestic horse, a domestic human, a wild horse, a wild human, and it just means uninterrupted by man. So people will get domesticated. They get a dependency. The worst thing would be on the government. A person sitting there collecting, welfare.
Relying on somebody to take care of them.
And then, it becomes a hand out rather than a hand up at that point. And they can't think for themselves. They can't do for themselves. They can't become what they were called to earth to do. They can't build habits, form a character, and fulfill a purpose.
Yeah.
They're dependent on something or someone to do things for them. So like this domestic horse, he's dependent on, both of them are domestic now.
Yeah.
They're dependent on me to feed them because I put them in a pen. So kind of like a human, if you put them in a pen, you've got to feed them.
Yeah.
Jail would be a prime example.
Yeah.
But it's like the main difference is that these horses, the differential between them is this one was born in the wild, uninterrupted by man. This one was born in domestication and nurtured by man. So he could be interrupted.
Yeah.
That's not a good or a bad and a value judgment.
Well, what about like health-wise or robustness, as far as being, I would think that if, born in the wild, that they would just have a more robust everything.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's absolutely right, because no one goes out there and gives them vaccines. No one goes out there and puts horseshoes on them.
Right.
No one's deworming them. You know, they thrive in nature because they understand what they need to eat, when they need to eat it, where they need to get the best grass, where they get the best water. You know, they walk 10 miles a day to stay healthy. All of those rhythms in nature allow them to thrive, and then they have a longer life, sustainable life.
Yeah.
You know, the dependent horse, the domestic horse, he's going to depend on the person to make all those decisions. So I have to trim their hooves. As in the wild, they'll walk 10 miles a day and trim their own hooves. So no one goes out there and trims horses' hooves. So it's nature.
Yeah.
So the robustness that you're referring to, yeah, it's definitely there. Now, this horse that you're petting, he's a domestic horse, we'll call him, but he lived in the wild with these guys on 1,000 acres in Colorado.
Oh, okay.
For many years. So the wild horse taught him, hey, you got to think to survive.
Yeah.
You can't go poking your nose on a cactus and thinking that's going to be okay. You can't be crossing that icy creek right here. You got to go over here. You know, so there's
well, you know, you talked about, you know, with shoeing them and stuff like that. Obviously, wild horses, they don't have shoes, so what's the point in shoeing them?
Exactly. So at one point in time, there was probably a good reason to shoe a horse, and that would be like an army that's got to travel across land, you know, carrying a lot of gear for many, 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 many days.
Oh, yeah.
So they wear out a horse's hooves. They would just chew them up. Well, we don't do that anymore. So a lot of people, they're shoeing their horses just to stand around, and it's really unnecessary.
Yeah.
I haven't put horseshoes on a horse in over 20 years. And I lived in Colorado Rocky Mountains for, 13 years. So they adapt to their environment.
Yeah.
And we would do 7-day pack trips, barefoot horses.
Oh, okay.
Now, I may have a horse that gets a stone bruise.
Yeah.
But what we would do is take some leather, cut out a little hoof pattern, duct tape it to
make
that
a pad.
horse, and then let him have some padding.
Okay.
But it was generally a domesticated horse that we put into the string that would get that. All my Mustangs, never. They had concrete for hooves.
Yeah.
They were bred in nature, for nature, and then we just.
So do you do your own farrier work?
Yeah, I trim my own horses, and I just model it after the wild horse hoof. Just keep it trimmed as if they were doing it themselves in nature. So I try to keep my horses as natural as possible, least interruption as possible. That's going to help them be healthier, a longer sustainment of life. So, talking about wild horses and domestic horses and the dependencies and the independencies, we can actually take up where bringing them into the human element, where nature doesn't get to do, we can take up the slack. So I can actually create a character in these horses in the human element to where they can thrive, least interruption as possible. So we free feed hay 24/7.
Yeah.
I will give them supplements if they need it, help them along, but it's only these two that are getting supplements because they're getting up in the age. He's got a little tooth problem here and there, but it's like, we'll help him out.
There you go. Yeah.
And so, we have to align with nature. You have to think and do and become what nature would be.
Yeah.
To create that character. So he thinks you're his personal itching post.
Oh, look at him. Yeah.
Yeah. So the crossovers are real cool in horses and people.
Yeah.
And so life coaching people, all walks of life, come into this farm, and they come from all backgrounds, all beliefs, all you name it, they've been in here.
Yeah.
And the horse breaks down all those barriers that society has put on a person, interrupted the domestic man. And it's like, okay, we can create our reality.
Yeah.
We can come into a space with a horse, because the horse doesn't judge us. He doesn't care if we're black or white, rich or poor. He doesn't care about that. What he does care about is how much we care about him. And the only way to prove that to him is to care about ourselves and present the best version of ourselves to the horse, observe the feedback, make necessary changes, and do it again. And we get into what we call a feedback loop. And then we can think and feel through thought and emotion, because they have thoughts and emotions. And then we can, that's an internal pathway of communication. And then we can monitor our attitude, which is kind of a posture. Like, am I posturing aggressive? Am I posturing relaxed? Am I tense? Am I relaxed? You know, all of these things horses pick up on. And then obviously action, which would be an outward pathway of communication.
Yeah.
So like brushing this horse, grooming for mindset, it's the first level of our horsemanship program. I'll literally think about what I've been thinking about. Have I been stressed out? Have I been physically fatiguing myself each day?
Yeah.
So the template of the day can change when we go inward.
You know, I've always heard that if you have a bad day at work, don't go riding.
Yeah, because
they sense everything.
Yeah, but if you have a bad day at work and then you go inward and are aware of that,
yeah,
you can make the necessary changes and then present to the horse correctly. And then you get an accountability partner, because he's right there to say, yeah, you're doing good.
It's okay. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Yeah.
Because horses will read energy, you know, and so we're doing an energy exchange through vibrational frequency. You know, what I'm thinking, he's going to be thinking. What I'm feeling, he's going to be feeling. You know, if I'm thinking calm, quiet thoughts and I'm feeling relaxed, he's going to do that. But if I'm erratic and chaotic in my thoughts and I'm feeling frustrated, then he's going to do that. So it's a mirror essentially, but it's a feedback loop that we get into, to where we can recognize very quickly through cause and effect. You know, if I do something to him, I can watch the feedback, and then I can make necessary changes to do it again if it's desirable.
Yeah.
If it's undesirable, I can make a change and like, oh, I was coming at you too aggressive.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't deliberate enough because I wasn't communicating efficiently and effectively through, you know, action. So these are accountability partners essentially, and they're actually showing us how to reconnect in our mind, our body, you know, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, our attitude, our action, and then we get real feedback and we can make changes and do it again. So we can become a better person each and every time we're with our horses.
Yep.
So I follow a couple of rules. I never force a horse to submit with pain or fear. And it's going to eliminate restriction in their mind and tensions in their body. So what they're thinking and what they're feeling. So if I'm forcing pain, what's he going to think about?
Oh, yeah.
The pain. But if
and he's
I'm
going to connect that to you.
Yeah, he's going to think in association of the pain. Where's it come from? Me. So these guys are in nature. You know, they've been out here watching the sun come up, sun go down, the wind, the squirrels, and then along comes the human. What variable are we in that equation? Are we something they would want to willingly be with, or are they resistant, hesitant, rebelling? You know, it's like, no, we want them willingly compliant to what it is we want to do. I mean, this guy's standing here on a ground tie. He's telling me the truth. If he wanted to leave, he would leave. This one is just so busy. He could be on a ground tie, but he's so busy. He's like, let me check this out. Let me check this out. So I have to continually ask him to stay tied. Now, we could put him on a ground tie and teach him through time. Hey, stand ground tied, stand ground tied. And he would do it. But for this video's sake, it's like, let's just tie him. He's ground tied. Domestic horse, wild horse. Takes things a lot more serious than a domestic horse. So it's very interesting in the differentials between the domestic and the wild. But I've found that they'll both serve equal or we'll call it equally as good, because they both read emotion.
Yeah.
They understand, you know, a person's ulterior motives, we'll call it. And if a person's really trying to become a better person, domestic or wild horse, they both want to be a part of that because it benefits them. And see, they'll both make decisions based on what benefits them. If it's of no benefit, they don't want to do it. And they guard their energy. So energy is real important, especially in nature. You know, have you ever heard of law of energy conservation?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so it's like this. If you got to run 5 miles, are you going to run as fast as you can when you just get started? Or are you going to conserve your energy to make it to the finish line? So that's the easy analogy. Horses are the same way in nature. They're not just going to expel all their energy and waste it in case danger comes and they need it. So even when they're playing, they'll conserve their energy while playing, running and playing. Because if danger were to come about, they don't want to be so exhausted that they can't run from it. And that's how it's kept them alive for millennia. Now, domestic horses, they may not have learned that. And here's how I know. I had an outfitting business for 13 years. And I'd have a string of, 12, 15, 16 horses at one time. And I'd put in a new domestic horse in the string. Well, he'd be fidgeting around and wasting energy and doing all this stuff, and the other horses, the seasoned veteran horses, they're like, no, man, Justin could take us out there for many days. You better relax. And inevitably, he'd be messing with this horse, he'd be doing this and messing with that horse, and he'd be fidgeting over here and just not really relaxing. When we get started, about day one, he's just exerting extra energy, and it's kind of one of those things you're like, gosh, man, relax, dude. About the 3rd day, he's like, oh man, I'm tired. But by the 5th day, he's done. And then it's like, the next time we go out, nope.
He's chill.
Energy conservation. Yeah, because he's walking faster than the others, and he's trying to pass one, and he's just fidgeting. But he learns real quick the law of energy conservation.
Well, with you talking about that, what brings to mind, I told you earlier, my daughter lives in Lexington.
Okay.
And of course, that's all big horse racing area and that. So they're basically ruining a horse when they bring them up as racers, huh?
Well, I'll tell you, man, it's a barbaric sport. I mean, if you're a 2 or 3 year old horse and you're just popped into earth, and you're trying to figure things out, they want you to run.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't want to run, but you're going to run. Yeah, that's kind of one of those things. Let's give a horse a voice. Let's give him a choice.
Yeah.
And when it's perpetuated by the industry, we'll call it, sometimes they don't get a choice. Now, on the other hand, sometimes there's horses they love to run.
Yeah.
They want to run. And, I could see why that would be like, okay, let's make him a racehorse. But the other thing about it, the other end of the spectrum, it's like, yeah, it's not very fair. I read a book a long time ago, and it's called, I can't remember what it's called, but it was talking about letting people work in their sweet spot, and they'll outperform somebody who doesn't, enjoy working. And I realized in the horse industry, or horse community, I like to call it, let's let a horse work in his sweet spot, and he'll outperform a horse that you're trying to force to submit, and create willingness in them, and they'll step up and do things you can't train them to do. So that leads me into where I'm doing today is life coaching. And these horses, all my horses, they understand that they serve a much higher purpose than just themselves.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me one time, what's the benefit for a horse to even do anything that us humans are doing? Well, if we really analyze it down, it's a conscious awareness. And they get to think things they hadn't thought. They get to feel feelings they hadn't felt. Like him leaning on you.
Yeah.
He's like, I love you, Ken. But it's...
Well, he's a lovable horse, that's for sure.
He's a back pocket horse. He'll be all up in your business.
Come on, let's back up a little bit. There
that's
you
old
go.
Peso.
Good boy. That's a good boy, yeah.
Yeah, so a wild horse being born out there in nature, analyzing things in life and death, they learn principles that govern the heavens and the earth. And I teach that in our life coaching here at the school. And it's called hermetic principles. Have you ever heard of the hermetic principles?
No.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. And it's really, really easy to explain in horsemanship, because these guys abide in those principles. So like the first one, and we'll just go through them kind of quick, but they get deep and they get wide the more you practice them. the all is mind, the universe is mental. And what that basically means is what you think about, you bring about. The second principle would be principle of correspondence, how things work together. You know, it's like the sun and the moon and the stars and the water and the wind and the air, all the things correspond. You know, nature,
Yeah.
rhythm, you know, life cycles. So in a horse, how things work together, the human horse, horsemanship. That principle is really good to understand, because that principle also says as above, so below, like the heavens and the earth.
Yeah.
As above, so below. Well, when I ride this horse, as above, so below. We're going to correspond in a feedback loop. As within, so without. So whatever I'm thinking and manifesting into reality, doing, that's correspondence.
Yeah.
So it's real important to understand these principles in life, but in horsemanship as well. So the third one, vibration. Everything is in motion. Nothing rests. So this horse may be vibrating at a frequency. I'm vibrating at a frequency. You're vibrating at a frequency. The resonance between those can be seen in horsemanship really easy. You know, if a person is vibrating at a higher frequency and this horse picks up on that, and then another person comes in, they're at a lower frequency and he picks up on that, the feedback is going to change. So he may be, we'll just say for simple conversation, someone comes in and they're high strung, they're erratic, they're chaotic, you know, they're really just all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, the horse will start coming to do that, to show, you know, the cause and effect, which we haven't got to yet. But if a person's really calm and quiet, relaxed, the horse will feed on that. So the energy exchange is there, and that's how it's understood. We could go deeper and wider on that one.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's polarity. So one end of the spectrum to the other. It's opposite. You know, fast, slow, hot, cold. Different classes, but they're the same thing, different degrees, different classes. So you got a class of temperature, hot and cold. Where does hot begin and cold end? You know, it's the same exact thing, just different degrees. Light and dark, different class
Yeah.
than temperature. Up, down, left, right. All of those principles are understood by these horses. They understand where to go when it's daylight coming up to eat the grass. They understand where to go when the nightfall comes for the best wind block. You know, all these things in rhythm. Nature is in rhythm. So then we go into rhythm, which is the next principle. And, you know, everything is in cycles, rhythm, like waves coming in on an ocean and out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the sun coming up, the sun going down. It's all rhythmic. These horses swishing their tails, it flies in a rhythm. They walk in a rhythm. They breathe in a rhythm, breathing in, breathing out. So a vibrational frequency change in our breathing, they can pick up on it. Our heart rate, our heart beating, they can hear it 3 to 4 feet away.
Oh, wow.
So if a heart is beating in a rhythm, vibrational frequency, and they hear it, and then it changes, then they're like, oh, that's a change. Something happened. And then it's information, it's energy exchange. And that's how they pick up on what it is we humans are trying to present. So yeah, after rhythms, cause and effect. So if I do something to create a cause, you know, think of it, do it, cause, then feedback from them, the effect, feedback, and then it does a feedback loop. So they may do a cause, and then I'm the effect, and then I'm the cause, they're the effect. So it's just this rhythmic, cyclic information exchange, energy exchange, to where the horse can adapt to the person can adapt to the horse, and then you can get a symbiosis. You know, you can get a synchronization and understanding through thought, emotion, attitude, action, internal pathway communication,
You know,
external.
with you talking about all that, what pops in my head is a movie Avatar, where they put the umbrella, they hooked the horse. It looked kind of like a horse, whatever it was,
Yeah.
but it flew.
I never watched that movie.
Oh, you said, and it's like when they connected with that animal, they were together for life.
Oh.
And they would actually like hook an umbilical together when they would get on them in a horse. They were one.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds a lot like, you know, what you're talking about.
Maybe I should watch that. But yeah, that's exactly what we
Yeah.
want. We want to move in a unity.
Yeah.
I want these to just be extensions of my legs.
Yeah.
I want to think and move and breathe together and explore nature together, not in resistance, in flow. And that's what true horsemanship is. And then when a person feels that, they get to experience it. So the YouTube people are watching this, they get an understanding. To get an understanding, they get a sense of this. But to get an understanding, they have to experience it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just words. That's just it. They're empty, really, at that point. It can spark an idea, or it can give a imagination or an vision. But until they go and do it, experience it, they'll never understand the true essence. They'll never understand the true connection
Right.
with an animal, with a horse, and then thinking and moving together and doing things in nature to understand these principles I speak of. So the last principle would be gender. So everything has a masculine, feminine energy. Horse, human. We possess masculine and feminine energies. So do they. If those energies are off, then the horse will help us balance them. So I used to have a high masculine energy, kind of forcing things and not patient, just very hands-on builder doer type, and very impatient by nature. My makeup, probably not by nature, but due to domestication process through society, programming and conditioning, like hurry up, get it done. That's the way I was. Well, a wild horse isn't going to tolerate that for very long. Maybe some will a little more than others, but this particular horse, he would not. Back in the day when he was young and spry, 8-year-old, he's 24 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He would not tolerate me then. So I had to start changing my internal energy, and I had to
He kind of brought you back to where you were supposed to be.
Absolutely right. And that's that energy exchange that I speak of.
Wow.
So whenever I was overly aggressive, too much masculine energy coming at him, like, I'm going to force you to do this. We're going to get this right. I'm only going to use logic in this. I had to go to that feminine energy and use intuition and creativity and basically soften, receive, like, okay, you get a voice, tell me how to help you.
Yeah.
Rather than, you don't get a voice, I'm going to make you do this. So I had to balance those energies within myself. And when I started learning how to do that, they came right over. They're like, oh, I'll show you. He was ready. He's willing and available. He's like, I'll show you how to do it. But then I'd go off again, and he'd show me. And sometimes they're subtle about it, but sometimes they're obvious. Gravity.
We got to understand they're the trainer, right?
That's right. Gravity will come into that, Ken. That the law of gravity gets really understood when you start getting out of alignment. Because if they want you off their back, you're coming off.
Yeah.
And then that's when you get to know
gravity. I learned that at a young age, I tell you.
Yeah, it's a really cool journey, horsemanship, that is, because you get to experience life like others don't. And that's what I make these videos for. You gotta think about how many people are in America alone. There's 330 million people. There's only 6 to 9 million horses. I've seen different numbers. So anywhere in between 6 and 9 million horses. 1.5 million horse owners.
Wow.
So 330 million people.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people have access to horses. So they're not going to get the experience that you and I are getting right now. But horse people have something so awesome. Anybody that has a horse, if you're watching this video and you have a horse, you have an accountability partner that can teach you what nature hides from us. So nature's hiding information. I mean, what a cool creation, right? To hide information for us to go find, like a treasure hunt. I mean, just for the simple joy of doing it. But how cool is it to be on the back of a horse to go do it? I mean, what is life for?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Like I said, that would be amazing. That trip you got planned would be that'd be the ultimate.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So we're doing a trip, June 10th, 11th, and 12th, in the Virgin Islands, St. Croix. And I love this place because I was in the mountains of Colorado, 35 miles from a gallon of milk.
Oh man.
I was in a place that's uninterrupted by man. There's just not anything, it's pretty wild, we'll just say that. It's not domesticated over there yet.
Yeah.
Well, St. Croix is like that. This particular part of the island, it's really uninterrupted by man. It's really cool. It's not like touristy. It's not overgrown with condominiums and all that.
Right.
So we're in a mountain. There's 100 acres, horses. We ride right down to the beach, and then we swim with the horses. So a 3-day immersion into horsemanship, where I teach these principles. You get to feel it, you get to have it, get to basically understand the true essence of it, and then ride in a setting with a horse that you created a relationship with and experience what nature has hidden from us.
And you create that relationship during that time, because whoever's going they've never been around that horse. The horse never been around them.
That's exactly right. You know, these horses have been ridden, but they haven't immersed into what we're going to do. So in my book, I explain this. So I wrote a book,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, A Horse to Guide Me. That's what the book's called.
Oh, cool.
And in my book, the same man has never sat on the same horse twice.
Wow.
And what that means is each day is a new day. So you break down one day into like 4 seasons. Your morning is your spring, midday is your summer, fall is your evening, and nighttime is your winter. It's like a death.
Yeah.
Symbolic. You wake back up, it's a new day, new spring, new beginning. So horsemanship is it's a daily reset ritual, renewing of the mind and the body. So whenever we come into the understanding of, wow, this horse is new, I'm new, what we create here together today is going to be different than yesterday. It's going to be different than tomorrow. So we bring ourselves into this present moment, and we understand what we're thinking and doing, we're creating right here. This is reality. Right this second is reality. In the future is not, in the past is not. You know, what this horse and I did yesterday is gone. You can't go get it back. And what we're going to do tomorrow isn't here yet, but what we do right here, right now, prepares us for tomorrow. So it's just this journey of reality, creating reality. And then it's just, you have to experience it. Like a book won't bring it. A video won't bring it. You have to fly to Virgin Islands and do it in a 3-day immersion.
That one will be awesome there.
Oh, it is. I've done it, and I've experienced it for myself so that I could be prepared to share it with others. And it's going to be just one of the most amazing experiences most people ever have in their whole entire life. Because where else can you go get a horse for 3 days in an exotic place like a tropical island and then learn the sacred art of horsemanship? And I call it sacred art because it's a set apart practice of self-study, self-discovery, self-mastery, with a horse as an accountability partner. So it's almost like perfect design. I couldn't have created it, but I can imagine it, piece it together, you know, the puzzle pieces, and then insert a person in and let them experience it. It took me 2 decades to create what we're going to show. Wow. In 3 days.
You're doing that in what, June, you say?
June 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Man.
I can't wait. It's going to be so fun. And the people that, some of the people that are already going, they understand, but they really want that true essence of understanding.
Oh yeah.
You know, that authentic, like, I really want to immerse myself in this and feel it.
I couldn't imagine going and swimming in the ocean with them. That'd be awesome.
It is so fun. It is so fun. Yeah. I'd take these guys with me, but they won't fit in my suitcase. Yeah, so you have any questions? I dumped a lot of information on you.
Oh no, I like I said, I'm soaking in every bit of it. Flies keep bugging this guy.
Yeah, well, let me get that fly spray. We'll spray it on him.
I think that's part of why he was rubbing on me.
Yeah. So what I'll do, sometimes I'll spray it on my own hand, and then I can rub it on his face. So it's not like just spraying.
Don't want to get it in his eyes.
Yeah, spraying on his face. This stuff smells good, doesn't it? You like the smell?
Oh yeah, citrusy kind of.
Yeah, it's got a citronella in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an essential oil mixture. Really good stuff. if you guys are interested in what this fly spray is, just let me know in the comments and I'll send you the link, get you a discount on it. I don't like those petroleum products, the oil. Yeah, because we did a camp for children with cancer, and you know, monitoring their health, you don't want to spray them with petroleum products. So this plant-based essential oil, just really healthy and safe. And I trust it on my horses. I use it on me if I got to go to town and I hadn't had time to get a shower.
Did you wear that last night before you ate Mexican?
Yeah, right. Go out to dinner and spray it on, get going. Yeah, it's called a cowboy shower.
There you go.
But yeah, cool. That's about concludes our show. You know, we focus on those 5 main areas of life.
Yeah.
Life coaching through horsemanship. You know, maintaining.
I think people don't realize how much is involved, and I think, and as far as what horses do for us.
Yeah. Well, those 5 main areas of our lives, you know, our health, our mental health, and our physical health. If we don't have that, it's going to be real tough to do anything else.
Oh yeah.
So if we focus on our mental health, our physical health, and it leads us into our wealth, you know, our finances, money, but also our energy. So I teach people, look, guard your energy as you would your money. You're not just going to let your money drift out of your bank account for no reason. Don't let your energy do that either. We guard it. Our energy exchange with other people is very, very valuable. Some people can drain other people's energies.
Oh, yeah,
well,
definitely.
I teach in life coaching, like, look, guard your energy. If you start to feel your energy change, because we're exchanging energy with horses so they can already get an understanding. But whenever you're with a human and you start to feel your energy change, you'll have the ability to transmute energy. You know, somebody comes at me and they used to trigger me in anger, I can transmute that and diffuse it so quickly. So then I'm in control of the situation. They're not. I'm in control of me. And it's like, I'm not going to let an outside influence, you know, mess up my own feedback loop within myself. Did you step on your lead rope, buddy? Come here. Come here. Good job. And that's that guarding your energy. So like that wealth. Then we move into happiness. You know, the third main area of our life, happiness. And it's pretty much whatever you find joy in. And if you practice looking at every opportunity as something for you, happening for you, not happening to you, you can look at it as a opportunity to find something good. You know, even in something you don't want to do, if you're practicing finding joy in doing that. So anytime they take a deep breath, I take a deep breath. And that synchronizes us up. Heart rate and breathing, muscle tension, relaxation. And that synchronicity is real important, especially when you get on their back. So anytime they take a deep breath, we take a deep breath. And it's a synchronization.
Become one.
Mm-hmm. So get back to that happiness. Anything you find joy in, that's happiness. So when you practice finding joy in everything you do, the stuff you don't really want to do, you'll still find joy in it. And I usually give a thinking and an association of, like, when you leave here and you're driving, look for the yellow car. And then anytime somebody finds a yellow car, it triggers that thought, I should be finding joy in everything I do.
Oh, yeah.
And then that'll create happiness. You know, because I trim their hooves, right? And I trimmed 2 horses earlier today. And I don't really like doing that. I mean, it's not easy work.
Yeah.
But they need it. I want to take care of them. They're domesticated now, so they can't do it themselves. So I find joy in trimming their hooves. And then it's easy. It's fun. And I have to mentally do that to physically perform to where they're, you know, having a good time too. I don't want to be jerking on their bodies. I want to just be like, look, let me see your hoof. Trim your hoof. Relax. And
it's like getting a pedicure.
Yeah, and it's like a spa day. So we look at those 5 main areas of our life in those first 3. And you got health, wealth, happiness. It's pretty easy to go into the 4th one, which is relationships. Nobody's going to be in a relationship with you if you're sick, broke, unhappy. You know, so you want to be healthy, wealthy, you know, energy and money, and relationship. And happiness to create the relationship. So it's like those 4 things, pretty important. Well, the coolest one is 5th one is spirituality. So whenever we align all 5 things, we'd never have to depend on anyone else to take care of us. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So in domestication process, we can still maintain our wild side because we're in control of our health, mental and physical. We're in control of our wealth, financial, energy. We're in control of our happiness because we find joy in everything we do. Our relationships are going to vibrate up at a higher frequency, so we're going to find better people. We're going to attract better people. So we're going to be amongst better people. Our relationships are going to be better, stronger, conducive to growth and development, and kindness and love, ascension into a higher consciousness. And then that spirituality is where we go inward to find answers that we can't find outward. And then they come. Through the collective conscious, they come. So a person can say, oh, I don't really know how this is going to work out. I don't know the answers. Go inward, your spirituality, answers come. No one can ride your horse for you.
Right.
No one can live your life for you. Yet we have how many people depending on others to do things for them? Yeah. See, and we're never a slave when it comes to that. It's like I can think for myself, I can do for myself, I can become what I want, I can form habits in that, and I can create my own character. And then we do that for our horses, with our horses, because I don't want these guys so dependent on me that if something happened to me, I know they'll be fine going wherever they go next because they're not dependent. If I had to open the gate and let them go, they would be just fine. You take some of these off the track horses and horses around here, and you let them go, they're not going to work. It's not going to work. They got to be blanketed in the winter and stuff like that, and they got to have all these feeds, and they're too dependent on the human.
Yeah, their stables are nicer than my house.
Yeah, yeah. They got air conditioning in the summer, heat in the winter, just like a human. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you turn some of these humans out the gate, it ain't gonna fare too well. Where's my microwave? Well, anyway, hopefully, guys, that gave you a little insight to a domestic horse, wild horse, all the beautiful, wonderful benefits of life coaching through horsemanship. Meet me up in Virgin Islands. June 10th, 11th, and 12th, and I'll show you.
How you doing, buddy?
I'll show you exactly what we do and how we do it.
You're doing good.
And it'll be life-changing.
You're doing good.
I can guarantee you that it'll be a life-changing experience you'll never forget. Until then,
I'd like to take you
bye-bye.
home, you know it.